I wanted to talk about this really impressive play that Tomokun made in a recent tournament because it's something that's really easy to miss if you're not aware of all the high level things going on. So, to start, Tomokun on the left is kind of looking to build an attack, and then once the blue gets placed, so now there's a big 2 double, so you clear the yellows, and then the purples and blues clear at the same time, and that would be a really powerful attack that could just win the round outright. So Hiko Light on the right has to be prepared to counter that really threatening attack that's about to come. So then they probably know it's gonna come, so then they're getting ready. They add the purples here, and if they clear the reds with that double red coming up, they would have a 2 double and then a 3 chain, and that would be a really good counter. So that would be good enough to defend against this threatening attack. But they can't send the counter in advance, so Tomokun still hasn't sent the attack yet. So Hiko Light can't send their counter because if they sent their counter first, Tomokun could easily add in a couple more links or add in a bit more power and then just counter the counter and win the round outright pretty much. So Hiko Light has made a counter to this threatening attack, but they can't send it until Tomokun actually sends the attack. But the good news is that it looks like Tomokun is committed pretty hard to going for this attack, so they're gonna have to send it soon, or they're gonna have to um, sometimes you get into this situation where the player knows you're gonna attack them, so they're committing to counter, but you know they're committing to counter, so you try to beat out their counter by building an even bigger attack, and they see you're building an even bigger attack, so they try to build an even bigger counter, and it becomes this kind of like side game where neither player is actually making a main chain. They're just building like trying to go for a bigger attack than the opponent is has, and then you try and out attack the opponent. So that looks like maybe what would happen here, but Tomokun finds this really impressive line where by putting the reds like this, it's actually possible to make a normal chain and then send a main chain. And once you convert into this line, it's actually so another thing that's really impressive about it is it's now a perfectly defensive shape instead of like an aggressive shape. So like right before that piece came down, it looked like a really threatening, aggressive attack coming, but now all of a sudden it's like a perfectly solid defensive form because when you clear the purples, that becomes a 6 chain, and then that can be used to counter like this looks like maybe a 3, 4, or 5 chain. That would be pretty big, but you can just counter any of that with the 6 chain. So Hiko Laito is all of a sudden in a really strange spot because they maybe overcommitted to making a counter and they weren't able to find this kind of like conversion into a normal chain that Tomokun found. So now Hiko has to do something to like fix their form and make it a normal chain instead of this like counter thing that they were going for. And in the meantime, Tomokun sees that and just commits to main chain that that they were able to convert into. So now Hiko found a line, but they weren't able to get it off because of like because of how much they committed to the counter, just because of how threatening the attack looked and how it really looked like it was gonna come out from Tomokun. So essentially, Tomokun put a lot of pressure by creating this attack, and then they won the round by not sending the attack. But the pressure from having the attack there made Hippolyto react and then overcommit to defending against the attack. And then when the attack didn't come, Hippolyto wasn't able to convert into a main chain anymore. But Tomokun found the line to convert the chain on this side into a main chain, and then that was all that was needed to win the round. So if you notice, this main chain wasn't that big for this level of play, but the reason is because of all the mind games that were going on with like pretending like you like an attack was coming, pretending like you were gonna send a big attack, or like you were stuck into attacking, and then instead all of a sudden switching to a main chain. So 64,000 points, like at this level, it's not uncommon to see chains of like 90,000 or 100,000 points, but it didn't happen here. Like Tomokun was able to win the round with a much smaller chain using the mind game of like looking like an attack was coming. So that was one of the really impressive plays, but I feel like there were a lot of them throughout all the matches. But uh, if you're curious about them, you can check out the video. I'll add a link in the description.